Viewed and listened to in over 65 countries from around the world, this is the GridCast. I am your host, Danny Cox, and with me is my co-host. He is a box owner and a grid enthusiast, and he likes to do at least one snatch a day, and if he can't, he'll just go ahead and jerk it. His name is Conan Bruce.
But I clean it first. Let's not get that twisted.
That's a little bit backwards.
No, I clean then jerk.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Thank God. All right.
65 countries?
65 countries. Actually, a little bit more, but
I know. I looked earlier. That's crazy.
I know.
Those are real stats, folks. Honest to God. It's crazy.
It's actually
the world-famous GridCast at your service.
Holler. High five.
All right.
All right, so on Quadrant 1, we have the brand new 40-plus female athlete for your Baltimore Anthem,
Tracey
Kloes. And in Quadrant 2, we're going to talk about a little bit of the minor leagues. We have a big announcement from our show. And in Quadrant 3, we have Sean Buck to talk about the gridleague.com.
Yeah, exciting stuff today, so make sure you tune into the entire GridCast.
So let's go ahead and start the show.
See you there.
We love to lift, laugh, and improve. This is Björk Odinsdatter.
Hey guys, we're really excited about our next guest. She was recently picked up by the Baltimore Anthem. She's 40-plus female athlete from CrossFit in Providence. It's Tracey Kloes. Tracey. Yay. So we actually had to crouch down a little bit in order to get near where she is. But we actually got her a stool.
Yep.
So go ahead and stand up on the stool.
So now she's taller than us. If you're listening to the audio, if you're listening to the audio version, is not quite as funny. But we were crouched down when we started off the show, so we were all the same height. And now we got Tracey up here so we can see her.
I'm standing up.
Are you on your now I feel nice and tall.
So if you haven't seen the video on about Tracey,
we know 50,000 of you have.
Yeah, 50,000.
Thanks, you
crazy,
guys.
Right? So if you haven't seen it, go check out her video. It's featured right on our Facebook site right now. So you got picked up at the first pickup of the supplemental draft this past week.
Yes.
Take us through what it's going to be like to be on a team with Klokoff and Zarapov and Kate Brierly and Kristen Wagner, who you have also deemed who she is.
Me and my friends and I call her Julie Fouché of Grid. I saw her at the first pro day in DC. She stood out to me, and her movements are amazing, and she stood out, and she's so humble, and she works so hard. So we kind of named her Julie Fouché of the Grid. So
what's it feel
That's a
like
huge
to actually
compliment to
be
both
on
athletes.
those?
Yes. Amazing. I've been following some of these athletes as they've been picked up before this kind of the season started, and to be a part of people on the team coming from so many different backgrounds. I can't believe that I'm a part of this, and I'm so excited to be included in this, and I can't wait to bring what I have to the team with the Baltimore Anthem. I'm just beside myself to be in a room and to be on a grid with those guys.
Yeah, well, I bet. And so through the years, if you've paid attention in functional fitness, who's inspired you to be better?
Growing up, my parents were amazing, and I did gymnastics in college, and my coach in college always told us, get up and work hard and get going. And then, as I came into functional fitness, I actually train here at CrossFit in Providence. And, every day coming into the gym, whether someone is stronger than me, faster than me, or if it's their first day in here, I get inspired by them every day. Different types of people coming in. I know there are people that come in, I've been doing this for almost 3 years, and people come into the gym their very first day. To me, that's inspiring. You stepped in here, you haven't worked out in years, and you're walking into a functional fitness gym and you're going to try this out. I get re-inspired by people like that. So, definitely people who are just brave enough to start this. And also, I'm very inspired by a lot of the people that are already doing grid, seeing what the gymnastics people are doing, and seeing what the weightlifting people are doing. That inspires me now, they're doing this on toes to bar and bar muscle ups. Well, I'm going to go try that. So I'm constantly inspired by the people that are already doing grid, and definitely the people that I work out with every day here at Impovitus. So
and I can speak from, I coach once a week, usually at least once a week at the 5A, 6A class, and that's usually where Tracey's coming in. And I can tell you a lot of the other athletes are inspired by her, and it's clear, though, that, that Tracey doesn't even realize it. And a lot of people are inspired by her. But as a coach, from a coach perspective, though, during the hardest workouts I know we've had, I walk by, and there's never a hesitation to give 100%. Tracey's always going fast and furious. And that's kind of what kind of separates people. I talk to athletes in the gym all the time, and people come to me and say, I want to be a competitor. And I go, okay, do you know what that means, right? Do you know what kind of dedication, perseverance, like what you're going to have to give up to get there? And there's so few people that actually understand all that. Yeah. And Tracey's one of those that does understand that, and here you are.
And
so that's great.
It worked out.
Yeah, so you've been in functional fitness now for a few years. So what kind of goals do you have looking forward?
I mean, I'm so excited that the gymnastics, that Grid kind of, it can separate you. I mean, I definitely can do the lifts, and I'm very fast at the lower weight cycling. But the gymnastics goals, I can't wait. I now can do 20 or 30 toes to bar, which is my favorite movement in the world. I want to get up to being able to do 40 or 50, or the weighted toes to bar. I've been practicing with the big med ball, weighted toes to bar, in case
hopefully
they have
it's not
those.
the 75-pound soft
I know,
stone,
yeah, not the
200-pound.
yeah.
I think that thing is bigger round than you are.
Yeah.
Like if you try to lay over top of it and try to touch your toes, I don't think you could do it.
I actually, Molly, who's on the Baltimore team, she was on my team on Sunday at Combine. And, the ref, Mustafa?
Yeah.
Okay. He's standing there on the grid. And we wanted to practice, but there were only like 150-pound stones in the practice area. So we were like, excuse me, can we go over and practice the 75-pound ones that were on the grid as they were setting up? And he's like, we were like, can we go play with those big balls? Big stones? He's like, he started laughing. He's like, yeah, go ahead. So Molly and I were able to get the 70. I was surprised because we both are little. We were able to get those up and over our shoulders at 75 pounds,
Nice.
which was exciting. But
Yeah.
my fitness goals, most of them gymnastics related for Grid, because I want to be able to say, to the coach, Garrett, like, put me in, I'll do your toes to bar, handstand walks, the deficit handstand push-ups, which I was able to do at the Combine.
Which is damn impressive, by the way.
Yeah, I think people were pretty surprised that this 40-year-old came out and did a bunch of those deficit handstand push-ups. I was really excited, but I've been working on those. So my fitness goals are definitely to get way better at my gymnastics, faster, stronger, and also work on the barbell cycling. And Baltimore has such a strong team this year that they've been putting together. I think we're definitely a contender. So
for sure. So so take us through the first draft on the first day a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you weren't selected during that
Right.
draft process. Take us through what went on through your mind, family, that kind of stuff.
So I have a little story with that. I mean, I put in my grid score back in the day, and I really was just kind of rolling with it. Like, I was training for this, and I was working on everything, and I really wasn't sure. I'm a 40-year-old female athlete. I see everybody that were going to the pro days, and they're amazing. These athletes, they're the best of the best. And I was just kind of going along, and I was thinking, this would be great. And I got invited to pro day, and then at pro day, amazing athletes. And I was like, all right, well, that was good, and then I got invited to Combine, and I thought, oh my goodness. And I really didn't fully let myself kind of go to that place where I'm like, I could be drafted until Combine, until I raced and met all these athletes and the coaches. And I really came out of Combine. I smiled the whole hour-and-a-half drive home. I had a big smile on my face. I was like, that was amazing. So I really started to think, yeah, I'm going to get drafted. And so when that draft came and went, I kind of fell apart. Tuesday night, my husband travels for work, and he was on the train home from New York. And I called him. And when I started out really strong, okay, it didn't work out. And I started sobbing. And he's on the phone.
Yeah.
He's like, he can't say anything. I really fell apart. But, I have 2 kids,
Right.
and I have a job, and, I have a good life going on. And I woke up the next morning, and I thought,
A lot of things to be happy for, both sides of this.
Yes,
Right.
and I thought, you know what, it's okay. I'm going to train. I'll try out for the MAGL. I'm just going to train for next year. This is okay. And it took me a couple of days to really accept it. And I knew that there was a supplemental draft, and you guys both talked about that. But I didn't really, it kind of threw me for a loop. And then Tuesday, when the supplemental draft came and you were kind of all over.
Well, before we get there,
okay.
Can we talk about, or will you talk about what your daughter requested from the NPGL?
Okay, so my daughter, who's 11, my daughters and my husband, they know the struggle and the extra work I've been doing, and she knows kind of how much I wanted this. She actually wrote a letter to the NBGL. She
not encouraged by anybody. She just did it on her own.
I didn't. She saw me really upset, and she wrote this letter, and it said, like, "Dear Grid League." I didn't know that she knew how to. And she said, my mom really wanted to be picked up in the draft. She really wanted to compete for a team. She wanted this so bad. You guys really need to pick her up. It would make our family's day.
It was the cutest letter. I actually saw it. And I have to say, later on we found out that Garrett from the Baltimore Anthem actually had thought that you were already picked up by DC. Wow. So that day was so fast and so
I don't think people realize, we talked about it at the draft. I don't think people really grasp how fast it's going on. And you've got each team looking at their rosters, thinking about their folks, and all of this, you certainly might not know that so-and-so got drafted or didn't get drafted or whatever, because it happened so fast, we couldn't even figure out who was getting drafted.
If you miss 1 second of it, if you're just thinking about, okay, this is who I have to select, and you're hearing what's going on in the background, if you don't check that person off of your list, you have no idea.
We barely kept up, and there was three of us trying to keep track.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was intense. So now the supplemental draft comes up.
Yes. And so that came up, and, I was following it, and I knew you texted me, and I was, at school. I'm a PE teacher, so I definitely had a little break, and I was looking on my phone, and it wasn't refreshing. And I thought, all right, it's okay. I wasn't really hearing anything. And all of a sudden, my phone starts beeping and buzzing.
And to be clear, all I said was you should watch the draft.
Yes. You were like, the draft's coming. You need to watch that. You need to, You were like, make sure that it's at 2. Let's go. And, it was posted on, Facebook. It was posted on Instagram. And so I have friends that knew the draft was coming that I work out with. And they just started calling me. I'm teaching. I couldn't answer my phone. And I just couldn't believe it. I really sat there with my phone. And I was like, there's no way. This is really happening. And I really finally let myself believe it. I was tearing up, and my students were, what's going on?
Did you tell them?
Yeah, I do. I talk about it to my students. I actually talk about Grid. It's amazing to me that they're so interested in it, because I think I'm as old as their parents. I tell them, guys, I'm 40. Some kids, they don't know. They're third graders. They think you're 12. Yeah. You're as old as my mom. Yeah, and your mom can do this too. It never give up. I talk to my students about that. You never give up. So they're going to be doing Grid and PE. We're going to be running Grid races.
Yes, that's awesome.
After school program next year, we're actually going to be running Grid races and stuff.
Awesome.
So they're very much involved, and I'm going to let my school and all my students know about it this summer. So hopefully we'll have a ton of little kids watching.
Whoever wins these races might even get a free ticket to a Baltimore Anthem race.
Yeah.
I just called Garrett out right there.
Exactly.
So, another thing. This past winter season, I was actually on your team.
Yes.
And so we developed a relationship and a friendship over this whole thing.
On the Cal team.
The Capital Affiliate League.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm actually wearing our team shirt right now. Right.
Fearless.
So I have to say, when the supplemental draft started and I saw your name up there, I was home alone, looking at it, and I was going to be posting up some stuff, and all of a sudden someone started cutting onions near me. I didn't get it. I was like, damn it, how could someone start cutting onions? I'm just so happy. So anyway, I'm really happy for you, and tell me your family's reaction when you got it.
My family, it was cool because I found out, on Tuesday, and I still have my life. I got to pick up my kids and do things, and I went to my daughter at school, and I picked her up from school, and I said,
the one that wrote the letter.
This was the first one. I told her, she's jumping up and down. I showed her the pictures, going crazy. And then my older one who wrote the letter, when she came off the bus, I sat her down and I was like, Michaela, your letter. I told her that her letter mattered.
It did.
Yeah. And I said, your letter really helped me out. And, I made it. And my kids were jumping up and down. And you're going to be a pro athlete. And we're going to see you on TV. And I'm like, this all works out.
I'm going to have to get a tissue in a second.
I'm good to go.
I know, right? Well, speaking of pro athlete, we're actually going to need you to sign our.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
we got to do
exactly.
this. All right. This is the first time we've been able to take one of these off the wall and get a pro
signed.
signature. So
Sweet.
put it in a nice prominent place right there, so we can see it.
Very cool. I can't believe it.
And once you get your number,
we'll have to put the number
put the number up there.
Can't wait to get my number. My kids are asking me that too. And my husband, he's
We'll
been
keep it down there to take the picture.
super supportive. He's, Saturday and Sunday workouts and traveling for the pro days and combine. He's been amazing. My parents are so excited. They are like, my mom's making signs to bring to them thing. And
I can't wait.
She's like a cheerleader. Yeah. So my family's been amazing. I can't believe the support, high school friends coming out of the woodwork, and old college teammates. I'm hoping to bring a ton of people to Baltimore.
And you went to college
yeah.
right?
I went to college in D.C., but
right.
I mean this area.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
this area.
So,
So
a lot of my friends,
a lot of those folks are still around here, and in Providence is going to be rolling deep.
Yeah.
Of course. We roll everywhere deep.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you a question. So for all the moms out there who think that they might be able to be competitive again, what would you say to them?
I mean, you guys can do it. I started out, I did gymnastics, but that's a long time ago. I have 2 kids at home. I went through all of that. And I just started working out and pushing myself. There's, a lot of people don't think that they can do this. And I sort of was there, 6-9 months ago where I'm like, that's crazy. But try it out. Work hard. You never know. You never know. And I feel like people, I used to think, well, my mom and dad turned 40. I'm like, oh, you guys are ancient. But it's not anymore. People take good care of themselves now. And 40, it is just a number. People say that. I've been hearing that a lot. It is just a number. And there are 40-year-old athletes on Grid, including me. I don't feel 40. I don't act like I'm 40. And so I think that anybody can do this. You really, really can. If you're in functional fitness or any kind of fitness or coming from gymnastics background, soccer, weightlifting, like any background, I don't know. I feel like I'm not the only one out there that can make this happen. So.
Well, you're going to be a huge inspiration for a lot of people in years to come. It's going to be fun watching you on the grid.
Yeah,
I got to say, I'm really, really happy and really proud of you, and couldn't be more excited, and I can't wait to watch the game.
Thank you. I can't wait.
So thanks for coming on our show, and so without further ado.
Don't forget us little people.
I will.
Oh, yeah, don't forget us little people at Providence and at GridCast.
Exactly.
When you get all big.
Yeah. Well, this is me, really, so I'll be down here.
Tracy just stepped off the stool if you're listening.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
She went from 6'2" to
like 5'0", if that.
So in Quadrant 2, we're going to talk about a little bit about the amateur league teams, and we got a big announcement there. So without further ado, let's kick it on over to Quadrant 2.
Hey, welcome to Quadrant 2, guys. So just to give everybody a recap of kind of how we do the show, the Quadrant 2 is always where we try to kind of either focus on micro level. Is that right?
Yeah,
Macro is
Quadrant 1.
Micro. And so that has tended to lead us towards talking about the amateur leagues because that's kind of the micro level.
Which it could actually just be a micro level of movements that are actually on a grid, or it could be talking about what happened during a match or whatever. But right now, it's talking about amateur leagues.
Yeah, and we're not sure you guys even care how we format the show, but just as a reminder, because I know we kind of bounce around a little bit. And we always do, believe it or not, we actually do plan this show. And
weird.
Yeah, weird. We try to have a format so you guys can, if you're more interested in one particular type of topics, or maybe you always just want to watch Quad 3 when we always have a guest on for sure, that kind of stuff. So anyway, moving along. So we are going to talk about the amateur leagues, but we'll try not to have it always be about the amateur leagues.
Right.
How about that? How about that as a promise to you guys? One of the things that's going to be pretty exciting coming up, and why I brought this up, is because here in the next couple of months, we are going to start having podcasts from the regional level, meaning all across the country in locations where there is an amateur league already. We're going to have individual podcasters on the GridCast network podcasting about local and regional athletes in that league.
I am freaking excited.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. We're going to announce the different podcasters that'll be with the GridCast. It'll be audio only, so it'll be a lot easier, I think, to listen to that way. And it's going to be weekly, and we'll do wrap-ups every week, and particularly when they're in season, we'll talk about the races. It'll give those of you out there that are local to a league ability to follow your friends and follow the local athletes and those things where we might not have enough time to give them their due. These regional podcasts will. And also, if you're just interested in the other leagues, right? And you get to hear about those.
Yeah.
So we think that's pretty exciting.
And what's it going to be called?
I'm going to save that one.
You're
not going to tell it yet. I'm not going to tell it yet. Nope. We're going to tease them a little bit. But it will be a growing part of the GridCast network. So exciting things to come, more podcasts, more content. When we say all things grid,
we really mean it.
We effing mean it.
We freaking mean it.
We're all over this stuff like stink on poop.
Like white on rice.
Yeah. So let's move along. Big announcement. We got those podcasts coming out. Let's talk a little bit about. So let's back up a couple episodes when we had Jim Keene on, CEO of the National Pro Grid League. He and Sean Buck's going to be on our Quad 3 today. So they were here to talk about Grid Invitational, which on the surface doesn't necessarily it's not. It is apparent that it's geared towards the amateur leagues, but it's not necessarily only amateur leagues. Like there's thoughts about having, people outside of the league. So if you think, if you're a functional fitness box out in California or in Idaho, and you say, "Hey, me and my buddies, we can get together and we can beat these grid guys."
So the suggestion was CrossFit Invictus.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to. Yeah. So I don't want to play against them.
No.
No, I'm kidding. The hooligans will take them on. But anyway,
throw down already.
So you got this whole microcosm, this crazy thing going on of the Invitational, I think, where it's going to put in a lot of people. Now, we're pointing that out to say this. If you are an amateur grid league out there or an amateur grid league team, anything below pro level, whatever you want to call that, minor leagues, amateur leagues, however that plays out, the thing is start thinking about your seasons, right? Because this is going to be very important. This year, the Invitational is going to be in September. It's happening during championship week. The winners, the people that make it to the finals of the Invitational, basically are going to play like right before the championship. It's going to be streamed live.
Yep.
Like that's it's pretty cool. And that's not to say next year that it's absolutely going to be in September. And we don't have any inside particularly information on it. We're just thinking realistically that it could change times during the year. The point being is, you might want to start taking that into consideration. Instead of trying to force, another kind of championship thing, why not let and this is not because, we think that the MPGL has all the answers. We certainly don't.
Right.
They know we don't think that way because we offer our opinions at will, even when they disagree with
true.
them. Yeah, and that's okay because we're unbiased and neutral, I think. And bottom line is, though, I think it's a good thing. I mean, we not the GridCast, but my gym owns an amateur league team. So, I started thinking about this. I'm like, how would this season need to play out to kind of gear towards that Invitational? Or if we were going to go regionally and play out a tournament to see, maybe it's not the season, but it's a postseason thing, and then you play out to see who can go to the Invitational. Right?
That would be awesome.
Because the people that win the season locally or regionally, whatever you want to call it, if it's Mid-Atlantic or Northeast Grid League, whatever, just because you win the local season doesn't mean you have the resources or the capabilities to go wherever this Invitational is.
This adds also into when I asked Josh Plosker when he announced the NEGL, and I asked him if you're going to have winners from each and every minor league or amateur league system play each other to a tournament at the end, he said, that's full intention is to eventually get to that point. Well, Grid Invitational, here you go.
Yeah,
here's a great opportunity for it.
And from a business perspective, again, everybody needs to remember this, that if you own a team or play on a team or are part of a league, at the end of the day, it has to make business sense or it will fail. Right. So if you say to yourself, why create a championship if somebody else is willing to, I don't want to say pay for it, right? Because it's probably going to cost to play in the Invitational.
Right.
But the bottom line is, hopefully you guys can see where we're going with this, is we think that teams out there, amateur level folks, should think about this and try to figure out and talk about it, right? So talk between leagues. And not that everybody's going to agree, but I think if we all talk about it between the leagues on social media, talk to the GridCast. We'll interview you. If you go back a few episodes back, an Off the Grid episode that we did, we had Marshall Crown on. And I got some feedback from people all over, some of our listeners that said, well, what if that's not the way it plays out, the way you guys did it on that whiteboard? That was theory, right? It's absolutely, there's no, we don't know how it's going to look.
Right.
That's the whole point. And so for us, it's kind of fun to play it out and see what it might look like. But a year from now, the whole landscape can change.
Well, the whole sport's evolving, right? I mean, it started, we have to remember that this started less than a year and a half ago, right? Actually, barely just over a year, that it actually, the whole concept and the whole everything started moving forward. So to think that we're already putting in amateur league systems around the country.
That in and of itself is crazy.
Right.
But actually, I say that in one sentence, and I say it in another breath. I say it in one breath, say in another breath, to say there's so many functional fitness athletes out there that love to race in grid that it isn't surprising, right? So they like, hey, I'm not going to make a pro team, so I want to play it at a lower level. So it's not surprising that all these teams are going to be out there. And it's not surprising that everybody is wanting to kind of get a piece of it. Like, you think about it that way. But hopefully everybody can kind of work together and make this work. I think the most important thing, and I think, folks from the MPGL, Sean Buck and others that are working really hard to maintain the integrity of the sport, as long as we do that at the amateur level, semi-pro level, whatever you want to call it, right? As long as we maintain that integrity of the sport and we're actually playing grid, if you pull out a C2 rower, and try to do a partner forward.
It's no bueno.
No bueno, right? That's not grid.
Nope.
Okay, guys? That doesn't mean you can't have odd movements out there, but it has to be consistent with the way the 11 races go.
Right.
So, we're establishing the sport. We're putting parameters around it. We're trying to maintain the integrity of the sport. And you kind of just have to buy into that, because if you don't, then grid is just anything. Like if I just grab some weights and I start running around with them, well, then I'm playing grid. It can't be that way.
No.
Can't be that way. We've had problems with that with functional fitness competitions in the past, where you just start naming everything whatever it is. Some other. Grid's not going to be that way. It's going to be a race. It's going to be co-ed. It's going to be movements in 11 races, right? And particular formats. And so it's not surprising that folks below the pro league level want to do it. And it's not surprising that people are out there wanting to establish these things and get them organized and formalize them. We're just trying to point out, since we have quite a few people that listen to us, that first of all, we're open to interviewing and talking to anybody. We haven't had an opportunity to talk to too many other leagues on the GridCast. Now, we talk to all these folks, off the show.
Right.
But getting it to where we can talk on the show, sometimes it's just logistics, right? And sometimes there's just not a lot to talk about yet because they're still establishing it. Love to talk to people from the WAGL, the NorCal Grid League, anybody, and we have talked to them. We're mean on the show, and we're going to do our best to make that happen, particularly when we go out to San Jose and to Anaheim for the grid matches. We're going to do our best to have some of those folks on the show so you can hear straight from them instead of us. A lot of times we just have to do analysis based on what we know. And some of that's going to be theory and some of it's going to be fact, right?
Yeah.
But it's still analysis. That's kind of how it works. So we think it's exciting that all this is going on in the amateur levels. We think it's so exciting that we're willing to invest in, 5 or 6 more podcasts out there, right? We think that you guys want to hear about it, particularly at the local level. We get these emails and messages on Facebook that are incredible. People thanking us for actually talking about the sport itself, and we're not going to stop talking about it, even if we only had 5 listeners.
You're
right?
damn right.
So we're going to be here no matter what. Hopefully, tell your friends about us, and they'll get to learn about grid more through us. So a lot of exciting things going on at the amateur level, and next we're going to talk to Sean Buck, and he's going to fill us in on a thing that's actually going to help some of these leagues. It's called GridLeague.com. Not only does it, again, help you maintain the integrity of the sport, but it also gives you a format for scoring, for picking matches, and basically formatting what they would term a quick play. So that would be 3 races and 6 races versus 11. So it wouldn't be a formal grid match, but it would be a quick play version.
You can get your friends together and just go play grid.
Kind of like half-court football.
Half-court basketball?
I wasn't a basketball player. I was a football player. But we didn't play half-court football. Yeah, so stay tuned for Quadrant 3. We think you're going to love the info on that. And if you haven't seen the website, go check it out.
Yep.
See you over in Quadrant 3. Hey, welcome to Quadrant 3 here on the GridCast. Last episode, we had Sean Buck, the Grand Poobah / VP of Product Development, here along with Jim Keene to
You
talk
forgot
about.
Guru, by the way.
Oh, Guru. Right.
Yeah, remember his business card has really long title.
It actually goes sideways. It's like an 8.5 by 11, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
yeah.
mine's co-founder, co-host, co-founder, and general jackass.
I should change
right.
that.
Yeah.
and I think I'm head kettlebell juggler or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but Sean was here last episode to help Jim talk about the Grid Invitational, and we had a great conversation about that. But their follow-up to that is to talk about another exciting project. It's already it's been live for a while. It's called GridLeague.com. And last episode, we also talked about, if you're listening to the audio version, we're talking about a brochure that you can download from the site. And obviously, if you're watching, you can see it. But there's a PDF version of this on the site. Basically, lets you play grid anywhere. You don't have to have, an Eleco rig in a stadium, like the pros do.
Right. And we tried to talk a little bit about this in episode 16, I think it was.
Yeah.
And but I think it's much better coming from the horse's mouth.
Absolutely. So Sean,
So now I'm
tell
the
us.
horse. Awesome.
Now you're the
Mr.
horse.
Ed,
I'm going to put that on my business card.
Sean, tell us, what is GridLeague.com?
Sure. So, I'll first start off with what is GridLeague.com and then talk a little bit about why we created it and what it's for. But what it is it's really just a suite of tools for people to play grid. That's as simple as possible. We want to make it easy out there to educate and have people play grid anywhere. And what could a grid league be? It could be just a tournament that a local gym wants to put on. It could be a fun rec league that a group of people that have been following grid want to start. And they just don't know how to organize it. They don't know which races to run. So this will be a suite of tools that has, and if you go to the website, gridleague.com, it lists some of the features that are coming out. Right now you can download the PDF, and this is in progress. But we're going to have a race builder where you're going to be able to actually create races based on the formats. And the formats are all described here actually in the PDF, where you can see what is Jack and Jill if you're not familiar with the races.
So you lay out all 11
Partner
races.
forward. Exactly. And then we have this notion of quick play, right? So quick play is really important because there's quick play 3 and quick play 6. Now, why that? Because when you look at the 11 race format, that's a 2-hour match. You're like, it's a little intimidating to just have fun on a Friday night.
Yeah, if I have a double date, it's me and my wife and someone else, and we decide to go play grid, and they're playing skins and we're shirts.
Exactly. And so much like
how do we do that?
Exactly. Yeah, so skins and shirts. But much like basketball too, right? Like I don't have to play full court. I could play 21. I could play half court. But those are rules that people are familiar with. True. And now our sport's new, right? And so people are learning what it is. But we want people to experience different versions of grid in a way that they can play. So Race Builder is going to be really cool because you can build that. And you can build that based on the capability. We have bodyweight versions in here that you can actually play. You don't need any equipment whatsoever. But they still follow the formats of grid. You still, do the substitutions. You're still racing from start to finish. Match scheduler, right? So if you're going to do, a lot of people like to do Friday Night Light type competitions or things. This is something perfect that you can run and you can schedule and notify people.
So let me get this straight. So if we're at the box and I decide I'm going to pull out the rower and I'm going to do 3 AMRAPs, am I playing grid?
No, right? And that's not grid. Grid is racing. Right, so and that's what we explain here in the different races. You're racing for time. The only exception is the ladder.
And when we say racing, like from a start point, a physical position to another position, which is why just because I'm racing on a rower, like you and I are racing each other, doesn't make it grid, right?
Right. It's on our court is called a grid.
Right,
That's the sport, but it's also the court, right? The grid is something you have a start line and a finish line, and that's the exciting point because people around that are watching are seeing what's going on, right?
And you know who's winning.
You know who's winning because you're looking on a rower. Unless you're watching what's going on, you don't know who's winning.
Right. Nothing against rowers.
Example. Right. Exactly. So again, this is a sport. The people are playing a sport. They're having fun. They're racing, and so it's really important that if people want to play grid and experience it, and that's actually one of the key drivers. So going back to the why create GridLeague.com. I always love talking to the athletes, whether they're trying out for the pro days or the combines. And the biggest thing I ask them is, what was that like? Mm-hmm. And they're always like, that was the most fun I've ever had. And this is coming, one of my friends who actually did try out at one of the pro days, college baseball player, played many sports throughout his life, and he actually told me, this is the most fun I've ever had playing sports ever. And he's like, look, I was really skeptical at first when I saw this, but now that I've played it, I love it. And I can't wait to bring this back to my friends. And
it's a consistent,
that's one hell of an endorsement.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a consistent feedback we get with fans and athletes, both with Grid. If once you watch a match, you're sold. You're in. You got it.
And once you play it,
then you're
it
really
becomes
in.
like a life.
You're like, this is cool because
Yeah.
because a lot of us love fitness. Obviously, it's a huge. Let's just call it a cult following, right?
Yeah.
That we like to work out. There's a lot of us out there in the world now, and to have a sport that's much more defined, right? It's just so much more fun. So
well, and yeah, it's fun, and again, people at all levels. The San Francisco Fire, they went out to a middle school and they just set up a little mat. They didn't have the full rig or anything, but they had some medicine balls, some kettlebell, and the kids came up to them afterwards and were like, "I want this to be my sport. I've been a swimmer my whole life, but this is what I want to do now.
Kids love
How
the
do I
race.
do this?" Right? And so we thought, how can we get more people playing Grid? And playing Grid, the sport of Grid, because what they're experiencing is the substitutions, the fast speed of it, the teamwork. I don't know, I can't do that movement. I'm not strong enough, but you are. And that's the conversation you have where we're a team now, and we're truly working together to accomplish that goal.
it's the difference between a quarterback and a running back, right? I mean, if I can catch the ball, it's great.
Yeah, exactly.
If I can throw the ball, hey, that's great. Now we got a team going.
Right.
And going to middle schools, isn't it more natural? There is no place more natural than to get the kids to race, because we raced to be the first one to get the front seat of the car. We
get in
race
line
right?
for food,
For everything. The kids are racing to do everything, right?
And racing's innate, right? I mean, it's who we are as people, right? It's in our DNA. I mean, if you look at the Olympics, there's so much track and field. You're racing. You're doing things to win, and so I think it's a very short sort of time, right? It's really quick. It's really fast, and so again, but people, we did one of the things we did see is people were enthusiastic, even people that tried out last year, and they tried to emulate this in their gym, but they were doing things like you said, like AMRAPs, and they were doing things that just weren't Grid. And there's nothing wrong with that, but like people weren't really experiening what Grid
it doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, and the people that created Grid, our founders and our commissioner, and I mean, there's a lot of thought that goes into these. Right, the races aren't at a weight or the elements where you could do everything. You have to find somebody different, a specialist, right? That they're designed in a certain way, and that's where we try to educate people here and what makes Grid. But the other thing is, how do we get people playing faster? We need to give them a set of tools, right? And so I've owned an affiliate down in Orange County, and I know what it's like to run a gym. And it's the last thing you want to do is have something else on your plate, right? To something else you have to market or something else you have to do. And so people are thinking, I'd love for my members to play Grid because I know they'll have fun. But man, now I got to program races. I got to learn them.
Yeah, I got to figure all this stuff out. The logistics of an event, a race, a match, a thing, like that's huge.
Yeah, and you put on competitions, right?
Absolutely.
So like organizing, the getting people to show up, So if we gave you a suite of tools where you could sign up and you could create Impavidus, gridleague.com/Impavidus, and have your own sort of where you start inviting your members and they start forming into teams and you schedule them out and you say, hey, every Friday night, these are the times we're going to have these matches, and they show up, right? And they start racing and you put in their scores and there's a little leaderboard. You can have win-loss. You can do tournament style, which is pretty cool too. So you can have all your teams run and you can rank them, or you can do head-to-head and have a league, right? But the more we can give you tools to where you don't have to worry about that, you sign up, you invite people. We're looking to add video content to help educate, right? That's where we really see the power of gridleague.com is giving everybody the tools to just play Grid. And even in here, we talk about the spectrum of Grid, which is really interesting too.
This is a great graphic. When I saw this, I could picture this in my head. I just couldn't wrap my head around it entirely, mostly because I'm pretty slow. But if you guys, obviously, if you're listening to the audio version, this is going to be kind of difficult. But you can go to our website. You'll see it, the link to this thing. But basically going from, and I want to get back into quick play here in a second, quick play into a full match. So full match is 11 races. That's the way it will always be. Those 11 races make it a Grid match. Now, I don't have time. I don't have 2 hours to give you.
Right.
So let's back it off a notch, right? So that's the match level. We also start from beginner to pro. We go at home, at gym, or an arena. Right? Obviously, the pros would be an arena. Quick play. If it's me, if it's 6 of my buddies or 3 of my buddies or whatever, I can play it at my house in the backyard with body weight movements and with no equipment. So it goes from no equipment, minimal equipment, gym equipment, all the way to I can't read that last specialized equipment,
like the soft stones,
like those 250-pound soft stones that you guys.
Those
put
were
out there.
really big balls.
The Grid has the biggest balls on the field.
Yes, they do.
You. But so this graphic gives you a sense of holy cow. So within as a beginner with no equipment in my backyard with my buddies, just a few of my buddies, I can play Grid.
Yeah, and this was really important to us because if you look at any sport out there, basketball, football, baseball, you can play it in your backyard. You can play it at the playground. You can play it in schools. And what happens is people see what's on TV and they're like, wow, I can't play that. I don't have
Grid's
that
cool,
equipment.
but I can't play it.
Yeah, I don't have that Eleiko rig. Like I can't play that. So let's take this for example. Partner forward, right? What makes partner forward? Partner forward, and what makes it Grid? There's male and female players that alternate through elements, but the elements increase in difficulty, but the reps go down. So how might we do that in a body weight? So on this PDF, towards the back, we have these body weight versions, and let's look at one. So partner forward, you have the reps decreasing, 5, 4, 3, 2 reps of burpee broad jumps, right? And then 50, 40, 30, 20 reps of jump rope. Right, and the burpee broad jump increases in distance. So you have 5 reps at 3 feet, which is kind of easy. Heavy reps, 3 feet. You make it a little more difficult. They have to jump a little further, but you're lowering the reps as it gets more difficult. So that's just one example.
I really hope my partner can jump 5
so,
feet.
So let's talk about this, because this is the part we don't want to skip over. So if I'm listening to this, I'm like, well, I'm not jumping
Tyler's
6 feet, but I don't have
a broad
to.
jump. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, right. Yeah, you don't. You just got to get somebody that does.
I need somebody on my team that can. I can jump rope like a madman, and then I'm going to tag out, right? Because that's another cool thing about Grid is I don't have to slug my way through it. That might be a 2-hour workout for me, a 2-hour race.
Can we make those double unders? Because I'm pretty sure no one can beat me in double unders.
Well, another good example of that is
I want to challenge Hernandez in double unders.
There you go.
It's going to be fun.
That'll be awesome.
Go ahead.
It'll be funny to watch you cry.
It's weird. Not weighted ones. No. Those leave marks on my butt. No.
Well, if you use it the right way, it would leave marks on your butt. All right, back to the body weight movement.
Yeah, just real quick again, Jack and Jill, right? The Jack and Jill is an element where the male and the female are working together, and you start with a lot of reps of something that's easier, and the movement gets harder, but the reps go down. So you could do 40 air squats, right? And then you would alternate between male and female, and then 20 jumping squats. So again, the reps are going down, but the movement is getting harder, and then 10 pistol squats. So it's less, but maybe you can't do pistols, but again, you have somebody that does pistols, one-legged squat. And what we really want to show people is what the baseline is, and the creative, like you add a kettlebell to this, it changes the whole thing. There's infinite combinations you can do now by just adding a small piece of equipment.
The movements, the skills, the equipment can change based on what you have. So you don't have any kettlebells, but you've got some wall balls, medicine balls. You've got you can make your movements, and you can make them into those patterns, and it matches the races, which means it's Grid.
Yeah, exactly. And going back to real quick some of the features too, and that spectrum, why I want to talk about the spectrum, because you just have body weight, rec leagues for fun, but we even see amateur leagues being able to use this platform. One of the key things that they would like to use is our scoring system. So the Delta Bar scoring system is really cool, but we built it so it actually can be displayed on a TV. You get an nice 80-inch LED TV like you have right there, put that on the wall, and they can see the scoring system.
So in the GridCast studios, we have a nice big 70-inch TV.
Oh my God. You know how good Star Wars looks on that thing? Woo! It's amazing.
You could have the Delta Bar going on right here. You could just be scoring, I don't know, watching Star Wars.
But I think that is huge because, again, you're taking that huge piece of logistics away from the event, organizer, if it's just the box owner or your buddies at the house or whatever. I mean, I could definitely see just about everybody's got a big screen TV, whether, 40-inch something. They've got a TV like that, right? So I could put that up, probably turn it around so I can see it in the backyard. on a Friday night and a few beers, and we're grid racing.
Well, exactly. And the other thing is because that delta bar is really key for spectators and people following along as well. And actually what we found is when athletes can see it, it's really key to them moving too. When they see they're behind, so you're like, I'm down 2 reps, you see them start to speed up.
Tell us what the delta bar is, though. So
So what the delta bar is, so if we take a step back and look at our sport, it's really important to us that the average spectator can just hop in, look at a match, and obviously from start to finish you can see the start to finish line, but there's sometimes where they're in the same quadrant, right? And sometimes there's 40 reps of something in the same quadrant, and that could kind of get boring to watch, and you might not know who's ahead, and you're just kind of lost. We call it actually the beer test, so you guys might like this test. The test is I get up, I go get a beer, I come back, I look up, and I can immediately see which side's winning.
When Conan comes back from the Echoes, because that's
when I go get a beer from the Echoes, because I just saw the race.
Right, exactly. I saw the first one. Okay, it's a repeat. But that delta bar just really quickly goes to one side, if the team in the red lane, and it's color-coded red, and it's really simple. And you don't need to know anything else about the scoring system to know who's winning. But then, obviously, there's more elements of the score that go into that. So you can see the rep counts per element. And when you get to the ladder, you can see the weights, and you can start to – so the more sophisticated fan is really going to like that scoring system and start to study it.
And I think let's kind of, again, I like putting this in the context of, me and my buddies in my backyard. So that gets so if somebody's listening to this and they're like, well, dude, great, you got the scoreboard and everything. Well, how do I interact with it? Well, generally speaking, and you fill in the blanks if I do this wrong, but that's going to be like your iPhone or your Android or your tablet if you have like an iPad or whatever, and you're somebody's going to have to keep score, right? Somebody's going to have to be.
Yeah.
So when you're inputting that stuff, now it's showing up on the leaderboard, right?
Yeah, right. And, well, going back to the delta bar, I think we see that more as an amateur, not necessarily the buddies in the backyard.
Okay, that's a higher level.
Yeah, you're going to have scorekeepers that are actually going to probably have laptops because you're going to have spectators. You might have spectators in your backyard.
Yeah.
I don't know. But we are looking.
a big community drop down, right? Like throw down. Let's do that.
I honestly could see this going down. It depending on where you live. This could go down in the cul-de-sac of my neighborhood.
That's what I was thinking.
Because we got a lot of CrossFitters. We got a lot of cops and firefighters
they all
and
come
military.
They all come here,
right? But I mean, that I could definitely see the grills coming out, and then rolling out, starting the finish line. I could see us playing grid in the cul-de-sac in our neighborhood.
Yeah, and we are
kind of want to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And we are planning a mobile app for simple scoring, right? For the simple scoring, most of the races you see, if it's not the ladder, it's a stopwatch, right?
Sure.
But to immediately have one person on one lane just starting, stopping, and upload them online, and you have your stats, and that's where you can see the leaderboard, or you can see if somebody won. You can start to rank, because that's the cool thing about even our sport with the tiebreakers, right? So when we go into week 1, and they're playing head-to-head, but they're also playing the same format, so you can actually start to rank 1 through 8, and it gets kind of interesting, right, from analysis, and say, well, they lost, but they would have beat these 2 other teams. Right. So actually you can kind of look at that as well, and it helps for tournament scoring too, right? So tournament scoring is that sort of that rank 1 through 8. But yeah, we want to make it as easy as possible. We don't, for the average fun league, just a phone, pop out your phone, start, stop scoring. You don't necessarily need to be trained on it or run scoring.
Well, this is some exciting stuff. And so what we want everybody to do, obviously we said this last episode, go to gridleague.com, start to, learn what grid is, get educated, start playing it. We're going to be playing it. And we hope you guys will do the same.
Yeah, and one real quick thing about timeframes, too. So you can download the PDF now. We're looking at the end of May to open up a beta test. So you guys, if you want to sign up, put your email address in. And because we really want feedback. We want to build the system for those playing grid. We're not just sitting in a vacuum. But you'll be the first to be able to use it in your gym or anywhere. Cool. And then you'll be able to give us feedback, and then we'll start rolling it out to the general public shortly thereafter. So, it's coming soon. But you can start playing grid today. You don't need the system. You can actually download this and play right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Oh, thank you.
And I think we finished up those reps, so let's head on over to Quadrant 4.
See you in Quadrant 4.
Hey, guys. Thanks, Tracey Kloes, from the Baltimore Anthem, for joining us on the show. Also, thanks to Sean Buck for joining us on the show.
2 great
as well.
folks in one show. You guys have noticed that we've kind of started adding more guests in a show instead of just doing Quadrant 3. Let us know what you think about that. Is that too much? Not enough? I mean, we think it's pretty cool to have as many guests as we can get, and logistically it kind of gets tough sometimes. So we try to do it when we can and put them in there, but hopefully you guys are enjoying having the guests. we think you'd rather not hear us talk.
Yeah. And also, our normal plea, go ahead and subscribe to us on Twitter and also YouTube.
Yeah, it's going to get more and more important, guys, that you sign up for the newsletter, because that's where we're going to be putting out all the information.
Yeah.
Right? That's how you're going to know. We're going to be talking about stuff off the GridCast, and you guys will be in the loop on all that if you follow our newsletter.
So, I want to say Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, because by the time we come back, it will be past Mother's Day. So this will come out on Wednesday before Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there.
Happy Mama's Day, Mary Lou. That's my mama. All right, and until next time, clean up your jerks and snatches, drink your beer in batches, and always dominate your grid matches.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.